I think, and this is something I'm learning, being a parent now really gives you a different lens, right? I think we've got to appreciate what that next generation brings to the table.
Yep, absolutely.
It's going to be different.
Yep.
It's going to be different to what we bring. In the same way, probably, I remember having debates with my father in my early 20s, and he'd be like, where did you even hear that? Why would you think that? You know, and I probably was this, like, what do you know kind of person to him, right? So I think we've got to appreciate that. But I also do want to say to the younger people, invest the time. In as much as we might assume experience doesn't count for anything, it does. It helps you to gain another layer of exposure, another lens to look at life through. So invest the time. Don't assume that people should give something to you on a platter. Invest the time in listening, in observing, in looking at what's working and what's not working. Experiment with, so there's this concept called liminality where you find yourself in between. And I'm actually in that space right now on sabbatical, kind of like, they say it's a feeling of being in betwixt and between, And one of the things they say you should do is try and experiment with different ways of being and different selves, So I'd say to the young people, also just experiment. Don't just assume that, just because, Vic doesn't have a Snapchat or a TikTok account or whatever it is, he doesn't know, right? And he can't sit on the board of a tech company. And so ask yourself, what can I learn from each person? What is it that I need to do to create depth? I'm a big believer in depth.
That's so depth is, I always say, is this transition from knowledge to understanding. But we'll have that conversation some other time. It's a long one, but I think there's a responsibility that a certain generation, and if the shoe fits, I would say everybody look at themselves, around understanding the importance of inspiration and what impact that's going to have on the next generation. So if I was my son's age right now, I'd be totally uninspired about our leadership. So, and when I say leadership, I'm probably leaning a little bit more to the political than I am to the corporate, but in general, because to your point, there's something that's very important that as leaders we need to start recognizing, and that is appreciating what they have to bring to the table. Because remember, we come from the parents are here, the children are there. Right? So we're always in opposite ends of the world, but we are really needing to bring them in and say, hey, your vulnerability story, right? Hey, how do you think we can get to where we're going? Exactly. What is your suggestion?
What is your suggestion? Because it might be better than mine, right? Because maybe I've tried all my suggestions.
Yeah. So I there's that. So as we the elevate and the idea of this is to create sufficient volume of conversation. Now, CJ, here's the thing I have. We've had a pandemic. Again, as I refresh, a serious global pandemic. I haven't seen our leaders, CEOs.
Have you not?
No. If there may be some that you might say I might have missed.
No, I've been on sabbatical. No. So I've been like homeschooling a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I haven't been.
I have ENCA in my background in the office all the time. I haven't seen people step up and say, hey, we're okay. I've seen Ford Motor Cars CEO come along and say, right, we're not making cars anymore. We're now making ventilators. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But I haven't seen. So there's a need for us to appreciate the impact our inspiration has, or our behavior also has on the young ones.
Yeah. No, I was saying to you that I was trying to think of a few, case studies of good corporate citizens that you can put up, and probably coming back to what you're saying. It's not that they're not there. And so I'm going to just, mindfulness talks about looking at yourself with compassion, and forces. And I'm not a big mindfulness practice. I
meditate to mindfulness every day.
I've been trying to get into it. I'm not 100% there. I've been trying, but there are a few things about it that I really do love. And one of these is just almost dealing with compassion. And I do think that there's been such an onslaught in South Africa. The pandemic hit us at our weakest. The average corporate was probably also at its weakest.
So I need to be a little bit more compassionate.
I'm not saying you should let it go. And I'm certainly not saying, but what I think it is probably a call to those people who are in leadership roles or who are seen as leaders who might have left a vacuum. A call to them to say, we appreciate you're dealing with a lot, but we need you. We need your voices.
Yeah.
We need you to create space.
We need you to inspire us, to tell us that, we'll make it, that despite, what's going on in our political framework or whatever framework that, that we're moving forward. I must say that, our president yesterday, for me, was it was very impressive in terms of saying, hey, don't forget where we've come from.
Don't forget.
And how much we've moved. We haven't got there yet, but we're moving, and we just need that reminder all the time. We need to be, leaders need to be led too. They need to be given that food of substance. How are we doing for time, Dumisa? 50 minutes. 50 minutes. Okay, so we'll give it another 10 minutes or so. So because there's just one more subject that touches my heart. So just going back to the youth and I thought about this the other day, and I don't know how accurate it is because it's just some construct. In pre-94 or a few years before 94, before we all moved into the suburbs, a lot of people who were doctors, nurses, firemen, teachers, pastors, all lived within the communities that they grew up. And as we grew up, we saw them. We saw the teacher, we saw the pastor, we saw the fireman, we saw the policeman, So I have this belief of this, what I call the subconscious proximity of inspiration, because they gave us our what.
Yes.
What do I want to become?
That's so
I want to be a businessman. Why? Because the businessmen, particularly in the townships, they took their families on holiday. They had the car, that Cressida, and you went into their
Peugeot.
Or the Peugeot, yeah. And you went into their house, and you're like, this like, two parts to the house. So they gave us our what. I want to be like, right? And then, of course, as times changed, they left. They left into areas where if I was to leave my environment here, somebody else would buy this house, probably of the same ilk, right? But when they left, nobody moved in with the same ilk.
Okay, that's very interesting.
So young people, when they stepped out of the door, didn't have as many as, they're still there, there's still quite a few, but as many as they're there. And my appeal is the reason why to inspire is so important, because the subconscious of the what.
So
what do I want to be?
That's powerful.
Is seen from, believe it or not, just you walking up and down the streets and having visibility to you. Them having access to you. You being tangible. These young people, what they aspire to is on reality TV, and it's not tangible, it's visible. So we just need to be aware that everything that we do as leaders has not just a direct impact, but an indirect impact that is also as significant as, as the direct impact. So yeah, I mean, it's I don't know how we're gonna fill those spaces.